Hey, I'm Gerald. This is Terry. This is Shane. We're three brothers together. Okay.
Shane, let me get over there, okay?
We're starting to take our rafters up, or ceiling joist up.
All right.
Going to attach them. They're going to go directly over top of the stud. Now we are using 3.5 or 4-inch screws to make this operation, simply because we want them to be very strong. A screw always gets more bite than a nail does. And if you've got time to shoot some screws, I would highly recommend them. Now, a screw on each side of that ceiling joist should be equivalent to 4 nails that's typically driven in by hand. Okay, we're now putting in little blocks right over top of our wall. We're going to put in 3. And that's to pull that ceiling joist over flush with our wall, and we're going to shoot screws right into it. That's going to help reinforce the wall and the length of it, and it's going to hold our ceiling joist parallel to that outside wall on the inside, which is our nailer. That will become our nailer for our ceiling.
Before you do that, because I may have to pull it down. No. All you need to do is sit and push it over right there. All right. I'll come over here and push that over.
Now you can see how that ceiling joist is being pulled parallel to that wall. Now he pushed up on that because the ceiling joist had just a tiny bit of sag in it, and we want to keep it right at the top of that top plate. Shane and Terry are going to chalk a line from one end of this addition to the other. This will allow us to install a cleat in order to attach our stiff back into the existing structure, tying our addition to a permanent marker. Now, from that point on, we will use a 2x4 to finish out that joist against that wall. Okay, next what I'm doing here is I've laid out for one portion of a stiff back. A stiff back is a member that looks just like this when you put it together. And what it does, when you put it through the center of your room, it brings all your ceiling joists up to the same level in case there's one got a crown or one got a sag in it. It's going to bring all that up straight. And it's going to line our ceiling joist up at the same time. So I have measured my short wall, and it's 92¼ inches. So I've laid down my layout for my ceiling joist on this piece. So we're straightening ceiling joist as well as pulling them up to a level plane at the same time. We'll attach this first, and then we'll add this member that comes to this side after we get this shot on. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. It's ready to go. I'm gonna put an arrow on it so we know that this part goes to the wall. Well, you have to back up, but that's right in the dead center.
Shane, you get yours on the mark. You got it on yours on the outside.
I do.
All right, I'll push these. All right, I'll put these right on the line. Hold on. You got it?
Yep.
All right, Shane, you get the. I'll hold this right here.
That's where you have to push it for you.
I know which way you.
Pushing to the wrong side.
Now, Shane.
Right there's how I shot one right through my wrist one time.
Yeah.
Point that towards you.
Yeah. Okay, I've leveled me out a line on my fascia, on the barge rafter. What we're doing is we want to find, and this grip edge is fine, we're going to get what we want. We need to measure from this point out 12 inches. Then we'll measure straight up, and that'll tell us the slope of this rafter. Took a level and leveled me out a line right here from this grip edge straight out. What I want to know is find out what slope this roof is on, so I can make the rafters on our addition the same slope. So I'm going to measure out 12 inches. Everything follows on a 12, and I'm just going to put me a 12-inch mark there. And I'm just going to measure straight up. So that's reading 3 7/8. So this roof is a 4/12 pitch, which means for every foot of run, which is straight out, I have 4 inches of rise. So a 4 on a 4/12. That's the slope we have. It's 4 inches on 12 inches. So now we know what to cut our rafters. So I'm going to show you how to lay out a rafter the old-fashioned way. Okay, the simplest way to lay out a rafter is called the stepped approach. Now we can do A squared plus B squared equals C squared, which is the hypotenuse of a right angle. We could do it that way. But for many, many years, contractors of old used the stepped approach with a framing square. I prefer it over everything. It takes just a little longer, but for me, it's well worth it. So we got our rafter sitting here with the body. Laying this would be the seat cut. This is the level plane. This would be your run. And we have the tongue or the blade. This is our rise. So we're going to set it using star gauges, little clamps that go on your square. You can buy them at any hardware store, and they are terrific. So you're going to set your, I like setting them on the inside. So I'm going to set this right at 4. And I'm going to set this one with my square here on my run. at 12, and I want that 12 to be directly at the bottom. So I'm going to set my star gauge right where I can feel it bottom out against that, which is right there. Tighten it down. All right. I'm going to double check. So I have 4 inches here, right at the edge of the bottom of my rafter, and 12 right at the bottom of my rafter. Now, if you have material that's got a crown, the crown has got to be away from where you're standing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out for our ridge pole. Now, we have to deduct the thickness of the ridge pole, half of that. Our ridge pole is going to be 1.5 inches, so we have to deduct 3/4. So we're going to come right here. Now, Shane, perhaps you need to be over here. And right there, we're going to put a mark right under that, right where that seat cut. Now, how many times to step this? If our building is 16 foot wide, which is what it is, we divide that in half, which will be 8 feet. So we have to have 8 steps for this rafter down through there. So we're going to go right through here, and we're going to first mark here. We've got our little mark under the bottom. We're going to slide that rafter until we're right flush with it. Right there. We're going to make us another mark. That's one step. We're going to make another mark there. We're going to slide a rafter down to the outside. Again, I'm going to put us a mark there. And at 12. This is 2. We're going to slide our square down. Make a mark right there. And at 12. Make us another mark. I usually don't make this mark here. I just line it up over it and number these. But for the sake of you guys watching, I want to number them. 3, 4. Another mark underneath. Slide our rafter down, or square rather. This is 5. Again, we're going to mark here. And this is 6. Make a mark underneath. This is 7. So we're on the 8th one. So we're going to make a mark here. And we'll slide it down. And this is 8. All right. Now everything, this covers to the outside of our wall. So right here, we're going to create a bird's mouth. A bird's mouth is this right angle, this hypotenuse of a right angle, just like this. That's called the bird's mouth. This is the part when we remove it, that'll allow it to sit on our wall. Okay, so right here, we're going to deduct 3/4 of an inch. Right here's the full 8 foot, so we have to deduct 3/4. So we're going to back up exactly 3/4 of an inch, and I'll just use my rule to do that, because we have to be 3/4, half of our rafter. So now we're going to back up right to that, make us a mark. A bird's mouth can never exceed 1/3 of the total width of your framing material, more than 1/3. So to find out what 1/3 is, we're just going to simply set that there. It's 6.5 inches. So 1/3 of that would be 2 inches. So all we have to do to find out our depth is to back up 2 inches, make us a mark right there. We're going to slide our square back to get our run right to that mark. And there is our bird's mouth. We're going to cut this away. This is what we'll set on the roof, or on the wall. So you measure back here 3.5 inches, and that's how much contact area you have. So with your plywood, it'll be 4. So that's how much contact you have with the stud. So let me just put here's something here that you can see. This is the wall. And it sits right on that. Just like so. And you attach by putting screws or nails, toe nail down into this plate. Now, we have to add for our overhang, for the gutter board. So we're going to come down and I'm going to back my square up to this point. I'm going to measure using this run all the way out. If I want 16 inches of overhang, I have to have 14.5 inches for my gutter board. Then when we add 1.5 inches to that, it'll be a full 16. Now if you want 2 foot, of course you have to extend this. So right here is my 14.5 inches. I'm just going to move my square down right to it. And there is my cut line. So I'm just going to put a C right there. That's my cut line. Right here is my cut line for both of these. And that's how you lay out a rafter. So let's go back over the steps again. Here is my ridge pole. So I've made my building is 16 foot long or wide. So I have to step half that distance 8 times. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus my overhang for my gutter board. Now this will also lay out our barge rafter. That's the rafter that sticks out. Some contractors call them a float rafter. It's the portion that sticks of the roof that sticks out beyond the house. And that portion of the rafter allows for the weather to not blow directly in against the house all the time and gives some shelter for the outside veneer. It don't always protect it all, but nevertheless, it's what adds the aesthetic value to the appearance of the house. So we've now got that. So what we're going to do, you always need to double check yourself, because anytime you're adding on a room, there are going to be little variances of tolerance one way or another, plus or minus. So we're going to take this pattern and we're going to cut one more rafter and we're going to take it up there and we're going to try it. Always before you cut all your rafters, cut 2 and try them to make sure that your seat cut or the plumb cut, which is this cut right here, is setting flush with whatever material you're using. Now normally they require, city codes will require this member. They require this member to be 1 size larger because they're looking for contact area. That's how much area of this rafter is actually going to be in contact with your ridgepole. Well, in our situation, we've got plenty. I'm going to have within 1/8 of an inch of having full contact all the way down this. So I'm going to use a 2x6 for a ridgepole. All right. So we're going to cut this one, cut one more. We're going to take it up there and try it. And we're going to see if there's any variances in the way the seat or the plumb cut fits. All right? So we'll cut this one and mark another one. Okay, I want to show you how this looks when you've got it cut out. We're going to add just a piece of scrap material here. This will represent our ridgepole. What we're looking for when we try these rafters is to see that we get full contact with this ridgepole. And then we'll lay out a ridgepole and install it. Let's put you one up on the center. Good. That's it. Measuring, I'm just going to use a line of sight about 1/8 of an inch. That's about how much the toe was away from my ridge pole. So I'm just going to make a little minor adjustment here, and I'm going to do the same thing to this rafter. In this case, rather than mark it, I'm just going to use a line of sight here, looking at my rafter, and I'm just going to mark that there. So I'll take a saw and trim that off, and I will mark every rafter then by this pattern. We're going to put in our jack studs under a rafter, which means these studs right here, we're going to match these. So rather than put them on their edge, we're just going to turn them around flat because they're nailers for that gate. So that's the next thing. Pretty good day. It's better than setting it on. If you enjoyed any of this, if you're learning anything, subscribe. Like our channel.
Like.
That's right, like. And
Like.
share it with your friends. Share.
Share. All your friends.
Even on Facebook.
Yes. So, that'll make us happy and we can afford meal for cornbread and fire for our stove. We appreciate you. We'll see you guys.